You're not as good as you think you are. You're also not as bad as you think you are. See, humans, people, sentient beings, have a hard time estimating themselves. There's one way you could look at it. If humans have a hard time estimating themselves, then how could any other human ever put an estimate onto you? I think that goes for knowing your own self-worth and value. And don't let others put things onto you that are below your value, that you know are below your value. Estimates can be shifted by perception, bias, improperly calculated data. They all create a sort of expectation, and when reality doesn't meet your expectation, that's when people have a schism, a splitting. That's usually when they do all sorts of manner of things. People can handle their schisms in any way. That's the beauty of being human, is we're so multifaceted. And although there is so much similarity connecting us all, we're all such unique beings that One Piece, for example, they're at like episode 1300 or something on the original run. And I forget when I read it, and I forget exactly who was doing it, but they're coming out with a revamp, basically. And they're going to start the series from episode 1 again, and they're going to redo the entire thing with a different animation style, and they're going to try to focus on different aspects of the story. So it's like, just by virtue of you being the one to take the source material, for example, One Piece in this situation, and interpreting it, you create a unique perspective and interpretation of the material, which is just as valid as the source material itself. I mean, you can see that because Eiichiro Oda is even supportive of the revamp. And he's like, yes, do this, because well, he's been the one that's been writing the manga and then also producing the show. So I bet to him, it offers a unique perspective to see how others are interpreting his material when he's not the one guiding the ship. How do others steer his ship? And that kind of parallels Goldie Roger's journey a little bit, because Goldie Roger left his One Piece in such an unattainable spot, such an unreachable spot, that in order to get it, you have to take on the same exact journey that Goldie Roger took on. And how you interpret that journey is how you get to Laugh Tale and how you feel when you get to Laugh Tale. I'm pretty sure the One Piece is like nothing. I'm pretty sure it's just like a note or something. And it's gonna be like, the One Piece was the friends you made along the way. But expectations can really throw you off. Like last week, me and my mom looked up a recipe online that we could do together, and then we went to the store and we got all the stuff, and we were getting all the stuff, and the recipe required a lot of stuff, and we were like, holy crap, this is going to be so difficult to do. And it kind of, all the stuff kind of sat in the fridge for a week because we were both a little bit scared of doing the recipe, because we were like, dude, this is going to be so complicated. And I'm not liking the lighting in here. I'm trying to change which way my face cuts the light, because I'm like, yo, I don't like that, like half. I am the light and the dark. No, man, we're the gray area. If you spin the yin-yang symbol fast enough, it makes what its true interpretation should be gray. But yeah, we got all this stuff, and by the time we actually got around to making the recipe, all it literally called for was just combining the stuff. Like, you didn't even have to do much. You just had to, like, there was like 3 or 4 steps of, like, you had to combine certain stuff before you could combine it all together. But it was relatively easy. We were both looking at each other like, this seemed a lot more complicated than it actually was. It ended up being pretty easy, but our expectations kind of built up this wall of like, it's going to be difficult, so we're just going to put that off until we're ready for a difficult time. And then one day I was like, well, the best time to have a difficult time is now, so you can get over it. And we did the recipe, and it was relatively easy. But I will say, it wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. It came out like, you know, your first time doing something, sometimes you get beginner's luck. Like, I bought a fife the other day. It's called a piccolo, a small flute. And I had beginner's luck with it. I was like, right away, I was like, oh shit, damn, I'm a flute fucking idiot savant. But the more I went to go play it, like, the next day, although I had the embouchure correct, I didn't have the constant breath work correct. So, like, even in the first day, like, the next time I took it, picked it up, like, after the first time, it was more difficult. Even just the second time picking it up, it was a little bit more difficult than the first time picking it up. I didn't blow a note right away. I had to study it for a second, and then I was like, oh, that's how it works. And then I figured it out, and I was like, so it's not like I fucking picked it up and knew it right away. I had to figure it out for a quick second. But then as soon as I figured it out, I was like, and then I put it down, and I was like, kind of psyched myself out. I was like, why was that so easy? And then the next time I picked it up, I was like, and it screeches sometimes. So I kept screeching it. But I don't know why the flute is acting like an addiction for me. I don't know why. It's so weird. I keep thinking about it, like I'll think about cigarettes, and then I'll go and I want to play the flute, and it's like I want it constantly, and I want to play it constantly. So I'm using this to my advantage. Apparently this flute gives me a lot of dopamine, so I'm using this to my advantage, to make me practice every day. Because, okay, I might have been, I might have had beginner's luck and been able to play it right away, but to be able to play it better and better and better and better, I got to get those finger muscles down, because I can tell that holding it, it's such an awkward position that, like, my pinky doesn't have the correct coordination yet. Like, I gotta work on that. And I can tell too that this finger and this finger, they don't know where to go. I know that there's places for them. Hold on, I'm gonna been yo-yoing that boogie for a while. I know that there's places for them, like for the fingers. It's just the wiring of my brain isn't solidified yet. So when I'm playing, I'm still kind of like, where do these go? And I kind of have to get over that and get more into the flow state of it. But I started recording myself every time I practice. Now I got burps and stuff. Being human stinks sometimes. Because your body just revolts against you at times. You're like, oh no, I got burps, I got hiccups, I got a fart. You can hold in farts, but if you hold in a fart, it turns into stinky breath because the gas has got to go somewhere. It turns into stinky burps. I started recording myself every time I practice. There's the cat hair on my bandana handkerchief thing. Because of how, not because that I started recording myself in my practice, because of the exact thing that I'm talking about, of how difficult it is to estimate your own self. And playing music is one of those things that once you play the note is already played. You can't go back and replay the exact same note. You can attempt to play the exact same note, and it might be very, 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 very similar, but its timestamp, its temporal placement is inherently different than the first time you played the note. So they're two technically different notes in the song of the universe. You can't go back and play that first note, but if you record it, you can replay that note anytime you want, like a chorus for the universe. And you can watch yourself and you can kind of say, oh, okay, well, that did not sound as good as I thought it sounded when I was playing it. Or the opposite. Hey, that sounded worse when I was playing it. And it actually sounds pretty good on the recording. And that actually happens to me with the podcast sometimes. I'll record something, I'll upload it. I have like two different mindsets around my podcast. When I'm uploading it as a body of work. I just need to make sure that it's a complete body of work. The message is obviously something that I care about, but I can't care about my own embarrassment towards it. I have to kind of remove myself a little bit and say, well, this is just a body of work that I'm editing and working on. Just like if I was editing and working on a TV show or a movie, kind of separate myself from it a little bit. And then I go and I post it, and then, maybe I watch it to make sure that it posted as I edited it. But I'm not really allowing it to emotionally impact me. But then, say I release like 5 or 6 more episodes since then, and then I go back. This has happened to me a bunch with Structure. I go back, the Structure's episode 1 from June 2023, by the way. I go back and I listen to it, and I'm like, ooh, this is terrible. I hate the sound of my voice. I hate the message. I hate the actual way I put my words together. I hate the way it was recorded. I cringe. But then some more time passes. And this is something that's like a variable time amount. Sometimes it can be like a week. Sometimes it can be a month. Sometimes it can be a year. some time passes, and then I go back, um, and I watch Structure for is a good example, because now when I go back and I watch it, I'm like, yo, this is actually pretty good. It's actually, honestly, and especially if I use it as a metric to compare my growth. Wow, if I compare now to then, it suddenly becomes really good um, as a first video. But if it's a standalone, like Opus Day, like this is my perfectness video, for me, I'm like, that's not the best that I can do. I want to try and do better. So I don't feel completely satisfied by it. I cringe at it because I'm like, I know I can be better than this. And then as soon as I start being better and I start outputting what I know I can do, I go back and I look at it and I don't cringe as hard, because I know that it provided the motivation to me that I needed to be better. And also, I thought this was pretty interesting, and other people have told me it was pretty interesting too. You get to like watch me change over time, which is a pretty cool aspect. Like that movie, Adulthood or something, where he took like a documentary, or like a whatever, of a kid when he was little, and he took a documentary of when he was older, and he put them together, and like as he aged over time, doing the same thing. I started when I was 23, so we kind of lost a big gap of time there that I have to inform you guys of who and what happened, who I am and what happened in that gap of time from fucking 0 years old to 23. But then as soon as we covered that territory, which I think we did in like season 1 and partially part of season 2, once you cover that territory, you guys know who I am, kind of. Now we can move into the territories if I get to actually like express myself and kind of fully embody the amness that I am. I get to just fully be what I am, because you guys know why I am the way I am. Because sometimes I seem like a really arrogant, confident guy, but if you learn my story, sometimes you're like, oh shit, yeah, this guy kind of needs confidence. This guy kind of like needs this. Oh, you kind of earned this, okay? That's also another thing. People always think I do like crazy drugs and stuff, and it's like, no, I'm just an eccentric, energetic person. Like, you don't need to do crazy drugs to be eccentric and energetic. Most people end up being that way because crazy drugs will make you crazy, and then crazy and eccentric are pretty much synonyms for each other. And when you deal with your eccentricities every single day, you kind of gotta learn how to manage them. And then for me, I absorb my eccentricities into my personality, because that has always netted me social status, social gain. Like one time, I was skating at the beach, and they were setting up a volleyball tournament. So there was like these trucks that were moving across the bike path, the like strand path. And they stopped traffic for a minute, and then I stopped, and then there was 2 other guys that were skating, or I think they were riding bikes or walking. They were walking, and we were all stopped right there, and I was just thinking about how cool fucking forklifts were. And I was like, wouldn't it fucking kick ass to be forklift certified? And then they all started laughing. And that was one of those times where I kind of like skated away, but like I could tell that those guys were like, oh, this guy's cool, let's hang out with him. But I was like, my purpose of going to the beach is to work out. I don't really go to hang out sometimes. Sometimes I go to hang out, but a lot of the time I go to work out, because it's got that nice ocean breeze, you got the sunshine, you got a nice straight path that I can skateboard down. So I'm not always in a social mindset. And I did the mistake of displaying my social eccentricities to those guys without actually having the intention of like hanging out with them. So I just gave them a quick giggle and then ran away, which is a weird behavior for some people, but that's just like what I like to do for people. I like to give them a quick, positive interaction, because how many people get to have positive interactions in their every single day, everyday lives? So I try to hedge the odds, hedge the bets, and I try to give people positive interactions, so at least I know, well, at least some people out there have been having positive interactions. But this creates like a weird kind of like, especially when I'm going to the beach, it creates like a weird, like, I am a very social person, but I'm purposefully keeping myself like cloistered to focus on my workout. And so I display like two aspects of my personality that's pretty hard for people to figure out just by watching me. Because on one hand, I'm really like, I look like a bat out of hell running from the devil when I'm skateboarding. But on the other hand, I'm always helpful. I pick caterpillars up off a sidewalk. I talk to people and make them laugh. I swear to fuck. So the beach I always go to is near a park called South Park, and I was like, ha ha ha, that's funny. And then one day, I fucking fell on the beach while I was skateboarding. They were street cleaning, and I fell. I'm pretty sure I told a story about this before. And then some ladies were like, oh, if that were me, I would have died. And I was like, yo, that's weird energy. I'm going to avoid that. But then I went and I fell again. And both times that I fell, I bounced up with a smile on my face. And I was like, hell yeah. Because sometimes falling on the skateboard to me is like a confirmation that I'm still alive. Like, fuck yeah. I bounced. I'm up. I scraped my fucking knee. I'm bleeding. I got this red stuff coming out of me. I am a system of moving parts. But some guy like saw me fucking fall and bounce a couple of times. I swear to fuck it was damn it, I can't remember his name right now. So maybe it wasn't him. Sometimes that happens when it is the person, and sometimes that happens when it isn't the person. So you know what I mean? Trying to pay attention to your discernment of extra sensory perceptions. But yeah, that dude, like, I was impressed by the fact that I kept falling and getting up and smiling and laughing. And he, like, stopped and waited for me to talk to him, but I didn't recognize him in the moment because I don't ever expect there to be people like that there. I don't expect me to run into fucking producers and writers and creators there. I just go there to fucking work out. So then when I saw him, I was like, that guy looks so familiar for some reason. And why is he stopping? Should I talk to him? I feel like he wants to talk to me. And then I didn't stop and talk. And then later on, I got fed some stuff on my TikTok, and it was the South Park creator's face. And I was like, holy shit, wait a minute. I guess it's just because I never seen him with a beard. I've always seen him without his beard. And when he was younger, I didn't know what he looked like when he was older and with a beard. So I guess the same goes for me because I wore a beard for a while. So people that would see me every single day don't actually kind of know what I look like or who I am because I have a beard. And when you have a beard and long hair, that's a characteristic that can fit a lot of people, and then therefore people can mistake me for other people and kind of get a little bit confused. But I got one of them unique butt chin faces. So when I shave, people know me as me, and they start to get to know me as me more often. But wearing a beard is like sort of like wearing a mask. I will say though, I like having a beard because another time, this is when I lived in Boston, I fell while I was skateboarding and I fucking dunk, and I was like, oh dude, I split my chin open. I totally felt like I split my chin open. I was like, it hurts so bad. There's no way that there's not an injury underneath all this beard hair. Because I like scraped my chin on the ground and hit it real hard. And my legs were fucked up too because I fell and I fucked up my leg. And then I fucking went and I sat down and I checked myself out, and I was like, what the hell? And I used the camera to check, and I was like, seriously? There was no mark at all, bro. The human hair has a tensile strength close to steel. I think it's actually stronger than steel. You'll have to look that up. You'll have to fact check that for me and comment it down below if I'm right or wrong. And so when I fell, it was basically like I was wearing armor, and the impact didn't even really cut or bruise the skin at all, because the beard offered a pseudo suit of armor. That's why I like wearing a beard, because it's like low-key a little bit of a face protection. Also because I get ingrown hairs sometimes a lot really easily, so I have to use, I can't always shave with a razor close to the skin. I always use a buzzer. And I only figured that out recently as a way to prevent ingrown hairs and stuff like that. So yeah, it protects the face in many different ways. It also sort of sometimes protects your face from like acne and stuff like that, but that's only if you keep your beard really clean. Like I would have to wash my mustache and like goatee area every time after I eat, especially if I eat cheese, because I'll get like pimples right in the drip portions of your goatee, and they would always be like the worst pimples. And every time I shave that area and I like keep it clean, I don't get as many pimples there. So it's definitely like sometimes it traps food particles, so you have to take extra care and maintenance, and I would always have to wash my chin after I eat. Sometimes that extra care and maintenance is worth it, because I liked how I looked with a beard for a while, but I also like how I look without a beard. Both are equally kind of cool. My beard did go white there for a while. And I was like, what the hell? I'm not that old. And then I started taking these pink pills, hair, skin, and nails, biotin. And my beard hair turned back to dark colored. It's like almost like black now. I'm like, whoa, that's cool. It's producing like hypermelanated beard hairs. I also have I have like a multicolored beard. I have red beard hair, I got blonde beard hair, I got brown beard hair, and I got black and I got white beard hair. So I got one of them multicolored beards, which is pretty cool. And my beard, the hair grows all the way up to here. I don't know if it does it on other people, but my hair grows all the way up. I even sometimes have to shave right here because I'll get hairs right there, and it goes all the way up to there. That's I shave the cheeks and stuff more frequently, which I think sometimes makes them have more acne. But yeah, my hair goes all the way up to here. Fucking, I'm like a little wolf man. But it's all well, not all of it, but thankfully the higher hairs are mostly blonde as it goes up, so you don't really see them as often until they get really like part of the entire beard, and then you'll see like a gradient of color. I wasn't expecting to have a beard of that color. When I was in high school, I used to dye my beard hair because I was blonde, and no matter how hard I tried to grow a beard, the hair would only come out like blonde, and like almost translucent. So I'd have like a whole beard, but you couldn't see it. So then I started dyeing it, and then you could see it. And then as I grew older, I only did that like a few times because I was like, this is lame. And as I grew older, it just naturally got darker. And sometimes I'm like, did dyeing it like create some kind of pigmentation environment for change in my face, or is it just that my genetics opened up and, you know, by the time I was 18, all of the face hair follicles turned on, and there's just a mix of colors, so they all produce it, all the colors. I don't know. That's where my expectations in reality have defied each other. Sometimes I like defying reality's expectations on purpose, but it's super dangerous. Like, I remember this one time I was skateboarding at the beach, and I went to go watch the sunset at the end of the strip. And the sunset was beautiful. It was dipping down behind the mountains, and it was just glorious. And there was some guy standing there, and he was like really taking it in. And I went, "It's real beautiful, isn't it, huh?" And he went, "Yeah." And I went, "It's beautiful moments like these that make me real thankful I stopped smoking crack." and then he was taken aback at first, because I said it cold. I said it serious as fuck. And he was like, "Whoa, this guy just admitted to smoking crack right here." And I could see the look on his face. And then he went, "Wow, man, that's really good for you." And then once I noticed that he took it seriously, that's when I kind of broke. And I started laughing really hard. And I was like, "No, man, I don't actually smoke crack. I was just fucking with you for fun." But that's the inherent thing, the difficulty, the challenge. As soon as you fuck with somebody for fun, they're never gonna trust you. Like, if that's your first interaction with them and they're like, "Oh, this guy just likes to fuck with people for fun," they're never gonna trust you again after that. They're gonna be like, "This guy just fucking goes around telling lies. We don't know what's true and what's not, because he can tell us that he smokes crack just as seriously as he can tell us that he doesn't smoke crack." That's acting. That's what we call acting. So now there's some guy out there who's like, "I don't know if Adam has a podcast as a crackhead or not." That's what I mean. Like, once you set out that expectation of like, this guy's not a truth teller, people start to believe that you're not a truth teller. I guess that also like goes for you're not as good as you think you are, and you're not as bad as you think you are. People tend to assume better about those around them than what they assume about themselves. Or they assume that everybody's the same as them. That's where I kind of keep getting tripped up, is I keep assuming that everybody's just like me, and I keep having to like encounter these scenarios where I realize, oh fuck, I'm different. And that's not always fun, because sometimes you're different in a way that means that you have to spend the time to fucking educate others. That's cool, but ever since I was a little kid, people were like, "Wow, you're really good at teaching other people. You should be a teacher." And I was like, "I don't want to be a teacher." People have always been like, "Wow, you should be a healer." And I'm like, "I don't want to be a healer." Like, what do you want to do? Tell funny fucking stories. That's what I want to do for a living. And maybe this is a form of teaching and healing. Maybe I took that into consideration. I said, I can do all of that at once for everybody in the entire world if I make a podcast. But yeah, that guy at the beach, when we were watching the sunset together, randomly standing there, some stranger at the beach, didn't fucking ever expect that somebody would ever say that next to him, because he's standing around in his own confirmation bias, assuming his own things about reality, and he's assuming that everybody's just the same as him. So when you say something that he would never do, and that's like, creates a schism, a splitting. And that's actually where you can see in better definition that you're not as bad as you think you are. You can walk through the street and you can think that everybody's staring at you and that they hate you and everybody's like judging you. But in reality, most people are just going about their lives. They have their own things going on in their head and their own completely different perspectives that fuel whatever thoughts that it makes them look at you. Also, recently, I'm like, and maybe this will help other people. People aren't looking at you because they're judging you. Maybe they're looking at you because you're interesting. That helped me a lot because I was like, oh, fuck. I'm not being, like, judged by all these people, and there's nothing wrong with me. It's actually what's right with me. I just look interesting. Out of all of the other faces that they've seen in this crowd, for some reason people tend to gravitate towards me. And I started actually being like, all right, fine, I'll take that up with responsibility. And I started acknowledging people. Like, you just gotta give them a little nod, a little smile, a little thumbs up. And you don't have to do the thumbs up. Sometimes you can do the thumbs up. Just acknowledging others. Like, hey, I see you, and you're just as interesting to me as I am to you. Because before I saw it as a burden, I was like, why are all these people looking at me? And now I'm like, all these people are looking at me. I'm kind of seeing oh, cool. Oh, well, all right then. All these people are looking at me. That's so damn fun. And that's just like, it has nothing to do with the podcast. It's just me walking down the street. And you know, other people experience that as well. Sometimes other people want to experience that so badly that they wear funny outfits and they dye their hair and they make themselves look crazy. And I think I appreciate the people that put on the aesthetic of, you know, hyper fashion or, you know, whatever it is that they find aesthetically pleasing, and then they wear it out every day. I really appreciate people like that, because that's what adds the spice and the flavor to life. And maybe that's what I'm doing. Maybe I'm just like not giving a fuck, putting on whatever I want to put on, looking however I want to look. And that's adding a spice of life to those people around me, where they're like, huh, I forgot life could be multifaceted and unique. You got to subvert other people's expectations in a way that makes them think reality is more positive. Because at the beach, watching the sunset, I subverted his expectations in a way that made him question how nice reality was around him. And I realized you can do the same exact thing, but positively. You can make people believe that the world is a nicer place just by being a nicer person and giving them more information for their confirmation bias to feed into about thinking that the world is a nice place. And that's just doing little things like I never wanted to really take credit for this, but I'll do it right now just because it's once you speak on altruism, it ceases being altruism, but it can serve as an example for others of how to be altruistic. I drink a lot of soda. Instead of throwing out the bottles or returning them, I put them in a bag and I leave them next to the dumpster, because I notice that people come and they rifle through our dumpster for bottles. So what I'll do is I'll just leave a whole big bag right next to the dumpster every now and then. Sometimes I want the 5 cents. Sometimes I'm like, yo, I'm running low on bills, I'm running low on funds, I could use that. I got like $3.50 there. I could use that. But then I'm like, it's just $3.50. You know, I could find another $3.50 in the couch cushions. But there's some people that make that their entire lives, going out collecting bottles. And I remember when I was little, I would go around collecting bottles. That was like my first hustle as a little kid. And I got like bags and bags and bags and bags and bags and bags of cans. And then I went and I turned them all in. And I remember I had like 3 bags of cans, and I only ended up getting like $2. And I realized how inherently difficult it was, because I spent so much time collecting all of these cans, thinking I was gonna get like this great payout And then at the end of the day, I could only buy like a soda or a bag of chips with it. And I ate soda and chips way more frequently than this whole bottle saving racket could supply me with the funds. So I kind of like realized that inherent difficulty around like the act of collecting bottles. And so I try to add a little bit of ease to it because I'm like, yo, I know this shit sucks. I used to do this when I was a little kid, and it's probably one of the hardest hustles out there, but you can get your fucking money's worth if you really do put the hustle in. And I see some people, they got some big old carts filled with fucking bottles. So I'm like, hell yeah, you know? But I'm not as good as you think I am. And I'm not as bad as you think I am either. That only serves as an example for you. Go out there. Go try to do something nice. You know, even if it's something nice for yourself, subvert your own expectations in a positive way where you can defy your own confirmation bias about yourself. Defy your own expectations about what you think is possible for your own self. Go back to me. Let me know how it works out for you. Does it work out? Was it fun? Did you have fun? Did you learn something? Was it positive? Was it negative? Was it neutral? What is it that you expect about yourself? What is it that you assume about yourself that is either holding you back or is propelling you forward? I'm gonna leave it there. All right, guys. Keep it easy. See you next time. Peace.